Let the record show all board members are present. Do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. The agenda has a small adjustment on it. Item 10E should read 25-26 year instead of 24-25 for carryover.
I changed my motion then to move we approve the agenda as corrected with 10E saying 25-26.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, no recognitions. We have someone signed up for delegation, but he's not here yet. So we'll move on to communication reports. Dr. Hutchins.
Well, I did do something that I thought was pretty neat anyway. It's kind of school related, but not a whole lot. I did go to Dancing with the Stars, and I'm really happy to report that 2 of our Raleigh County teachers from Crescent Elementary, Ashley Williams and Cameron Shannon, raised the most money and got the most votes. So they did a fantastic job, and it was a great representation for young teachers, for all teachers in Raleigh County and for Raleigh County schools. It was just a pleasure to see them. They did a great job.
Ms. Smith,
I'm good.
Ms. Amrick,
Same thing that Dr. Hutchins said. It was a great night, and Cam and Emily did such a good job. And they were hollering out. I thought, because I can't hear anyway. I thought they were saying Emily, but it was Camely. So their whole thing was Camely, which they did. So it was a great night.
so are you all going to apply next year?
No,
That's what I just did. I'm
no,
waiting for
Rick.
no,
We're gonna put Rick on there.
on a wheelchair and just flip me around. What you going to do? Yeah. There's a day I could dance, but not anymore.
Stand
Mr. Snuffer?
I didn't go to Dancing with the Stars, it's obvious. Did go watch. I'll put this. Not this Saturday, but last Saturday was a great day to be a mountaineer no matter where you were at. I was in Morgantown for that game and stayed, and I actually got out without burning the couch or anything. I behaved myself, but it was a great day there. I was at Liberty, just went down today, and the tennis courts are painted. Looks good. Looks good. The new fence is up and everything. Only question I had on that was, I know we were checking about extending or amending the contract for the football field for there in Woodrow about maybe putting the black fence, replacing the barbed wire and razor wire and everything. Are we anywhere on that?
So, yes, we met with ATC, the corporation doing the job, last Wednesday on site at Woodrow and Liberty. We walked the facilities at both places, identified the footage that we wanted them to quote us on, possibility, and they are aware of it, and they're supposed to provide us the information as soon as possible. So
Okay.
we walked the site with them to specifically tell them where.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Because it's a game changer when that new fence and stuff and everything. It just makes everything look so good. Yeah,
Tennis courts look great.
yeah, they do. Tennis courts. Yeah. Well, and the new tracks, they really set off. They really do a good job. I think that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. The only thing I have is I noticed a new sign out front. It looks nice.
It does look nice. I did too. Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Starcher.
Mr. Butcher led that work, so many thanks to him. And I was sharing with Mr. Ford that we think we will add that same type of sign at our other offices, auxiliary, maintenance, and transportation, special programs, just so for some uniformity. But anyway, thanks to Mr. Butcher for taking care of that. Did you say Dr. Starcher?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no.
Sorry.
That's your name, isn't it?
Sorry, yes, that is my name. I apologize. So just a few things. We had a parent advisory council meeting today. We had some new members present from schools, so that was good. We had some interesting ideas shared in terms of possible ways of improving attendance. So we're going to put our heads together and see if we can make some of that work to provide creative means or mechanisms for improving attendance and for getting parents more involved in the schools. So we had a great meeting. It was a couple hours long, and Miss Reeve and Miss Richmond led that, but I certainly appreciate that. Last week, we received notification that we have one school that's been identified as a CSI school. That's Stratton Elementary School. So that work has now begins. They will Stratton would be a CSI school for at least 3 years. Hopefully, at the end of the 3 years, they've made improvement and then they would come off that status. But if not, it could be renewed. But hopefully, we'll be able to work with Stratton to see that it's no longer a CSI school after 3 years. The SBA, our new contact at the SBA was here today visiting Woodrow Wilson High School to see the project, the proposed project. So again, just as a reminder, we'll have an interview in November and then we'll find out mid-December if we receive that project. As a reminder, we have the LSIC meetings start next board meeting. So the regular board meetings will be at 4:30 and then we'll start the LSIC. We'll move into LSIC at 5:30. So
For us who are little memory challenged, Carla, if you would probably about 2:00 say, hey, Rick, 4:30, I'd appreciate it. Somewhere in that neighborhood that day, it helped me. Or I might just show up, I'd probably show up here at 5. So just,
as a reminder, on October 14th, we'll be at Bradley Elementary School. On October 28th, we'll be at Mabscott. November 10th at Fairdale. December 9th at Gent. And then January 13th at Coal City. And again, regular meeting starts at 4:30. We'll move into LSIC at 5:30. Any questions about that? Okay. And I went to the Shady Spring High School football game last Friday night. It wasn't the best game for us, but still nice facility. Anytime I'm at a game, our turf fields just look so nice. So it's always good to go to a game, but unfortunately we lost terribly. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Other reports, Miss Lacy, Director of Attendance.
Miss Lacey can't be here this evening, so in your packet or in your folder, you'll see the attendance report. First month attendance, you'll see our attendance rate was 93.546%. You'll see the enrollment at 9,537 students. Now, again, she does not include pre-K in that number, so 9,537 plus pre-K. And then we've had 3 high school exits this year compared to 5 last year in the first month. And if you go to the last page, you will see our home school year to date, 760 students, homebound 13, alternative 13, and then Hope Scholarship 850.
The attendance in our virtual looks great.
Yes, it should.
It does.
It should. I think we're up to between 220, 230 students for virtual. I spoke to Miss Gerald this morning. Was that? Maybe it was yesterday that I spoke to. It was yesterday that I spoke to Miss Cheryl. So 250. If you recall, well, let me look. Last year in October at second month, we had 119 alternative students, not alternative, virtual students. So this year, Ms. Hodges, you said 250? So if we subtract the 13 alternative that would be listed here, that's what, 237 that have signed up for virtual. So that's over 100 more students in virtual this year than last year in October. So I know we expanded our virtual program this year, and I think we're seeing numbers wise, it was a good choice for us.
Where's that compared to last year? I know it's not official until October.
No, it is not official. And I will say, I talked with a couple of the truancy officers earlier. This number, they are really still trying to find kids. So I can't tell you specifically, but what I can say, I looked at, well, again, it's in Weavis. So until we know for sure where the kids are, it's hard to say. But when I last looked, elementary schools, I believe it was 49 students less this year in elementary schools than we had last year. And in our high schools, we weren't too far off. But in our middle schools, we were showing about 100 less. So when I totaled all that together, it was under 200, but it was, on the upper end that we have less this year than last overall. But again, that we're not at second month yet. So, second month is our final number. But I would estimate, at least based on what I saw in Weavis, that we're down around 200.
If I have a question, I think I'm looking at this correctly.
Okay.
This year, we have 850 Hope Scholarship students as compared to 101 last year?
Well,
Because this says 24, 25, and the total's 101.
okay. So if you look at this report, that line that you're looking at,
Yep.
if you look under the first month, there's nothing there. They didn't have that count at the start of last school year. So in second month, if you see 22, then 41 going across, that we had 101 students go to Hope after school had already started.
So there were more actually on it that were not
Yes,
recorded in that number.
The number 865 is what's in my head. I don't know where I'm just pulling that, but I do believe it was 865 total, Dr. Hutchins.
Yeah, this one says 850.
Well, that's that's
that's-
starting this year
Says year to date.
for this year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I think we ended with 865.
Oh, you're talking about the end of last
That's
year.
what's in
Okay.
my memory from last year. I could be off. Do you remember, Mr. Dillon?
It was 800. Not that exact, but we have received some students back
Yes.
in a better spot we are this year.
Okay, so it's comparable to last year. That's not that diversity that's shown on these two numbers here. Okay.
I was going to ask that question. Do we track students who come back so we would know how many left, how many actually came back?
Mr. Dillon's office would be the office that has that information. Ms. Barr, there's a Hope Scholarship platform where she enters all of the students. So they could probably tell us that. I'm sure he doesn't know that right now, but
Yeah, it's just nothing big. I'm just curious.
I have a note here. I'll get it to you.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
yes, I do believe it was 865. I believe so, yes. Any other questions about this? I found a number interesting. If you look at homeschool at the beginning of last year versus homeschool at the beginning of this year, did you see that difference? Last year we started with 1,001, and this year we're starting with 760. That's a sizable difference. So, so anyway, I did notice that in the report. Thank you.
They had them all summer sharp. They wouldn't send them back to school for a while, okay? That's what happened. Yeah, I think so. I noticed it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lowry? Balance scorecard review.
Hey, good evening, Dr. Starcher, President Ford, and board members. Good to be here tonight with you. And I too was at that Pitt game, and I told Mr. Dillon I knew that was you running across the field after that goalpost. Okay, so tonight the balance scorecard has been released for West Virginia. And we're going to go over that a little bit tonight. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I have given you some screenshots of that that look similar to this. You were just asking about the enrollment. If you'll look at the one that has the Raleigh County on there, it looks like this one here. And I'm going to pull it up on the screen. That will show that our enrollment as of October 1st last year was 10,272, according to the scorecard. That was the October 1st count.
But that includes pre-K.
Absolutely.
And the
absolutely.
number
The
you
one you
have
have
does
does not. Correct. Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes. Okay, so the balance scorecard can be found at mywestvirginiaschool.org. Also, we have this posted for families on our webpage. It's on the home page, just right below the menu bar, that the parents can and families, educators can find that there. And so you would simply go over here to the left and choose our district. So you have a screenshot of the state, and then you have one of our district as a whole. And just some things that I wanted to note there. Our attendance rate last year was 90.55% compared to the state's, which was 92.3. So that is something that Dr. Starcher just mentioned, that we are taking a concentrated focus on attendance, because we all know that chronic absenteeism, drives everything: achievement, credit accumulation, and graduation rate. So that is definitely a target that we have. Our graduation rate for four-year cohort was 86.06. The state's was 92.3. And our five-year was 89.92%. And the state's was 92.58. We look at that comparison. For proficiency, which is the number of students proficient at a standard, we were pretty much the same as the state for elementary and high school ELA, and middle school math is where Raleigh County is above the state's proficiency level. So, except for, we were the same except for elementary school ELA, high school ELA, and middle school math, where we're above the state proficiency level. We talked about this before, that when you see those colors, the more you see, the closer we are to the next level. So if we see elementary schools is almost full in ELA, then they're closer to meeting that standard than the middle school ELA. So the more color you see in a block, the closer they are to moving up to the next standard level. In academic progress, the state's proficiency rate is above Raleigh County schools in elementary school math and middle school ELA, but it's the exact opposite for elementary school ELA and math. In middle school, we are higher than the state average. Academic progress is the difference between two assessments. So from one year to the next, the amount of students that grew and moved into a standard, that's what that standard is based on. Our EL learners, if you'll look there, they're performing much higher than the state average. So they're close to meeting the exceed standards level. So they're doing very well with the EL work and their assessment that they are doing with those students. So our greatest need in Raleigh County is attendance. We are doing better than the state with our middle school and high school attendance, but not by much, and we have to do better. This is definitely going to be our greatest challenge, is attendance rate with all schools. And our elementary, you'll see there is below. And graduation rate, we are an entire level below the state. We partially met that standard, and the state meets the graduation rate standard. So we've expanded our virtual courses, and I know Ms. Hamrick mentioned that, to make every effort of keeping our high school students in school. So we feel like if we have them, offer them some options throughout the year, that they're more likely to stay with us and to graduate. I know that we've opened it up to where they can enter in throughout the year and not just at a semester change, giving them that opportunity. We know that a lot of them either work or school's just not, at the brick and mortar is not necessarily working out. So we have done that to try to help. So when you scroll down on the site, there's a place to check for individual schools. So when we check that, that's going to have all of our schools and where they performed in all of these areas. you have the 24 list and you also have the 25. So I wanted to kind of give you that didn't staple them because I wanted to kind of have you that there to lay side by side if you wanted to look at how they perform. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So with the individual schools in the ELA targets, you met your target, which is set by the state based on after post-COVID scores, and each school has a different target that they are intended to meet each year. And so in ELA, 17 of our schools met that target in both 24 and 25. And in math, 19 schools met that target in 2024. We had 20 schools meet their math target this year. And as you can see, high school math is certainly going to be a focus. You see all that red there, but they're all very close to moving into that yellow, partially meeting. So that is going to be something that we're looking at this year as well. In ELA, 7 of our schools moved up into a new color. So they moved up a standard and no schools dropped into a lower level of the rankings. So 7 of our schools bumped up into a new color level. And in math, all schools stayed the same except 2, Hollywood and Marsh Fork, which dropped into a level below that they were last year. Academic progress is those 2 middle columns. And that is the growth that we were referring to. So 2 schools moved up a level in growth since last year, and then 2 dropped. So we had it just kind of a balanced out there. Beckley and Ridgeview, they dropped in their progress for the 25 year. And in math growth, 6 schools moved up a color level since last year, and 3 dropped. Those were Beckley, Coal City, and Shady Elementary. And remember, this is growth. Proficiency is the students that are proficient in a standard. Behavior, we're doing exceptionally well. We had 5 schools move up a level. Beckley Stratton Middle School is the only school that is currently yellow. And as you can see there, they're getting very close to moving into that blue. So we've taken a strong focus with our PBIS teams and how we're doing behavior and looking at suspension rates and what are the things we're suspending for, disproportionality. So those are all things that we've really taken a strong training on and involved the Hannigan group that Dr. Starcher has talked about before to help that behavior be where it needs to be. And then graduation rate is a concern since last year. We've had a drop at 2 schools for their 4-year cohorts, but Shady High and Independence High did have an increase in their 5-year cohort graduation rates. We're doing much better than last year, than on track to graduation and post-secondary. We did better last year than we are doing this year. That is another thing to look at. So based on what the scorecard shows, that we have a solid elementary foundation, but we have urgent gaps in, our attendance, our 9th grade transitions, and our post-secondary pathway. I did bring something with me tonight to kind of show what we're doing with those 9th graders. I think that Ms. Hodges has done, and Gear Up, Sarah Stover has done a lot of work with that. I know Dr. Starcher showed you the handbooks that Ms. Hodges, we can credit her for doing all this work, and she put that together. And one of the things about the graduation, the post-graduation and on track, is how many credits a student has by the end of 10th grade. You should have 12. And so the parents today really appreciated this. This is kind of what I used in college, but the 9th graders will have this now to mark what they have to have, what they're required. And I think this will help them see what they need to be on track for that graduation. It'll help that go up as well. This has everything that they need to know about high school and when they enter there. I know she talked about that in the past. And I don't know if you talked about this, Ms. Hodges, before. I'm going to steal a little bit of her thunder. I think this is going to help us with the post-secondary achievement. Marshall on October the 3rd. Dr. Brad Smith will be here with high school seniors where their parent can just scan a code. If they have a 2.5 or higher, they're directly admitted into Marshall. So I think that's going to help too with some post-graduation things where students can just enter that way and apply without all of the paperwork and parents not understanding. Those are just some small things, but things that we're putting into place to try to help that post-secondary achievement. Another piece with that is the survey that they send our kids after graduation. And I don't know how to get more people doing that, but that would certainly help because we know that our Career Tech Center has a great post-secondary achievement rate. Are there any questions about the balanced scorecard?
Yeah, I guess the ones that you mentioned there, but when I look at Woodrow Wilson and on track to graduate, and they don't meet they're the lowest.
Correct.
So that's our biggest high school, that's concerning. What are we targeting there to try to get more of those kids on track? I mean, you just mentioned the ACT. To me, they're right there. I mean, it's a challenge sometimes for kids from Liberty or Independence to take a bus ride over and back, but right there, I mean, to me, we could market that, or maybe we are, I don't know, but to get some of these kids back on track and get them out of the school or something.
Correct.
I was just going to say the on track to graduation, correct me if I misspeak, but please, but that's looking at our sophomores at
Right.
the end of their sophomore year. So juniors, I mean, most of those students haven't gone to ACT yet because it's at the end of their sophomore year, but but
if they're not on track, then it's going to be hard to.
you're absolutely right. But this is the part, correct me. I think they have to have passed 2 math credits, 2 English, 2 science, and 2 social studies, plus 4 more credits. And, we've talked with the high schools about really monitoring the students, the failures, and trying to catch them up. And we have credit recovery, but I don't know what's the semester they can start credit recovery. We don't allow it their freshman year. I think they could start their 4th semester of their sophomore year.
I was going to say, I think second
semester, their 4th
Sophomore
semester in
year.
high school. So just they really have to monitor, and that applies to the post-secondary achievement as well. We can get points for post-secondary achievement based on AP, dual credit, and program completer status. But we at the school level have to do a very good job of monitoring each student and seeing where each student is in terms of fulfilling the credits and fulfilling AP dual credit or program completer. I'm sorry.
I guess one of my thing was, and I know a young man that was at Liberty, he really wanted to go to ACT, but he wasn't getting those credits and those things so he could go there. So that was used as an incentive for him to get the other to be able to go there. I mean, that was his goal, was to get there. So he probably wasn't going to retake those classes or recover this, but he did just so he could go to ACT. So that's just something we have. One of the best schools in the country.
Absolutely.
And I know it's a limited thing, but we need to have every class filled to the rim with what we can to these kids. Maybe even add more. I don't know.
And then you'll see where Independence has the red in the post-secondary achievement.
Right.
So what she was speaking to on track for graduation, the 10th grader must be making reasonable progress towards graduation by having 12 or more credits in core content areas by the end of their 10th grade. And so to exceed that standard, 95% of your students have to have that. And so you'll see that Woodrow's red, that means less than 80% of those 10th graders did not have that. Yeah, and then the post-secondary is 12th graders based on their AP courses, if they have a C or above in dual credit courses and completion of a CTE study.
And a lot of those kids, everybody knows this, but if they don't get on track by the time they're juniors, those are the kids that drop out. They don't see a way to get there, okay? So those are the ones that exit on us.
We're trying to give them some options with that virtual.
And the option pathway program
Yes.
can help us with some students
Right.
that we offer at ACT for those that fall behind but can still getting the option pathway pass their GED test and pick up a program of study. But yes, I will say, Woodrow is close to going to yellow. I don't know from looking at that the exact percentage, but it's close to at least hitting partially meet standards. But across our high schools, we have work to do in one indicator or another. I mean, all of them in math, as you see, but
And also not picking on the high schools. If you look at the feeder schools, go to that high school, the middle schools. If there are problems there, they're just inheriting those problems. They're not creating those problems. They've just had the kids maybe a year or so, so they're inheriting those things. So the situation is probably farther down the food chain than what
you're
we're
correct.
looking at there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have that conversation with our elementary principals, middle school principals, when we look at this data. Like, the high schools need just as much help from their feeders, as you said, as they need help from parents. The feeders have to be doing what we need them to do. It is refreshing to see that most of our schools met their target in math.
Yes.
That's been a struggle for us. Now, none of our high schools met it, but most of our other, I think only 2, Clear Fork and maybe Park, didn't meet their math target.
But the high schools have a lot of red, which is good.
Right.
Yes.
And once again, I mean, parents today talked about this, parents that are from families who really are pushing education and said, if I'd understood this better, when I went to school and my daughter even went to school, you just took those basic classes. But this gets them on track to make sure they have all of those credits by that 10th grade year. And this will help with that few percent, hopefully, that'll bump that up. Anything else?
So I guess our 2 weak areas remain mathematics. There is improvement, that's still weak areas.
And attendance.
Attendance is
And we
just
all know
not
that
good.
attendance will improve mathematics, so.
I think it's interesting that behavior is really good and attendance is really bad. Maybe they're not coming to school. That improved behavior.
Well, we're getting one in check. We're going to work on that.
It's interesting that behavior is way over here and attendance is so poor. I don't know. Interesting though.
One thing I'll say, and I was doing a little video the other day about the balanced scorecard and for parents, and I would be guilty of this if I was not in education. I turn in my child's excused absence, and I think it's all good. And it is for that child. You go to the doctor during the day, you have an excuse, or you're sick during, Monday through Wednesday, and you turn in your doctor's excuse. There's no issue with truancy or anything of that. But for the school system, it still counts against us. It still counts towards that 18 days of chronic absenteeism, which we see in the red, with this red.
Yes.
So, that's a hard conversation. I don't want to say parents can understand it. I think parents are quite capable of understanding, but I'm not sure how well we have communicated that to our parents. So we're going to try to do a better job of communicating exactly what makes a child chronically absent, whether excused or unexcused absence. So I understand there are a handful, like the bus doesn't run. There are 3 or 4 that don't count in the red, towards red. But I think that's another piece we have to do, is try to communicate with parents that even excused absences hurt the school system. And hurt their child ultimately. They can't learn if they're not
Right.
there.
Drexel Salmons had a thing years ago. I'll never forget it, that when he was at Crescent, had a parent that was always checking their child out at 2:00 every day. That's the thing. And he said, that's when I teach whatever. And you realize over a year how much instruction time your child's missing. And they really didn't. They said, well, I just took him out 30 minutes early, big deal. But it's a big deal. You're taking that child out that same time every day. So whatever's on the agenda that day, that child's missing. And I think they probably downplay the missing of school sometimes, even good parents.
Yes.
Once their children achieve, they say, I'm not going to miss much of that thing. So, it is important that we educate our parents better about that.
We've heard things like it's just kindergarten, and then it's just first grade. And when you get into that habit, it becomes habitual. We had one of our community members today talking about how that transfers into the workplace, and, being tardy and absent, and that transfers into when they are employed. Anything else? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Butcher.
We've been waiting on this one.
I'll try to keep it under an hour. President Ford, Dr. Starcher, board members, I'm here to present the annual financial summary for the FY 24-25 school year, or fiscal year, I should say. I'll start with the annual financial summary. And on page 1, you'll see the balance sheet. Major components of assets, 96.9 million or 89.48% in cash and cash equivalents, 2.6 million or 2.37% in state aid receivable, 2.6 million or 2.37% in PEIA allocation receivable, 3.4 million or 3.22% in reimbursements receivable on total assets and deferred outflows of 108.3 million. Under liabilities, major components of liabilities and fund balances, 11.8 million or 10.88% salaries payable, 3.2 million or 2.94% PEIA premiums payable, 2.9 million or 2.74% in accounts payable and payables to others. Deferred inflows, 1.6 million or 1.47%. And we had total fund balances of 88.8 million. That's 81.95% of total liabilities and fund balances of 108 million. Under fund balances, the total unassigned fund balance was 33.1 million. And the FY24 unassigned fund balance was 28.6 million. So that's an increase of 4.5% or 4.5 million or 15.73%. Total fund balances for the general fund, 52.1 million. That's a decrease of 4.5 million or 15.73%. So our unassigned fund balance increased, but our overall fund balance decreased. And that's the major reason for that is the purchase of the technology equipment at the end of the fiscal year. Overall, the 88.8 million of total fund balances, that was 88. That's a decrease of about 3.4 million or 3.69% from FY24. On page 2 is the revenue expenditures and fund balances. Funds 61, 65, and 71, of course, those are legally restricted for a particular purpose, and GASB 84 required the recognition of those school activity funds in Fund 65. Fund 41 is restricted to permanent improvement projects, and Fund 51 is used to acquire, build, or renovate major capital assets. That's, of course, is Capital Projects Fund. Looking at revenues, major components of revenues, 52.4 million or 27.89% of property taxes, 102.8 million or 54.72% of state source revenue, 23.2 million or 12.36% of federal source revenue. Under expenditures, of course, you would expect to see the major components of expenditures under instruction and supporting services for students and instructional staff. And for the year, that was 122.6 million or 64.13% of total expenditures. Other major expenditure areas, school admin, 7.7 million or 4.01%. Operation and maintenance of facilities, 19.1 million or 10.03%. Student transportation, 12.9 million or 6.72%. Food services, 11.3 million or 5.91%. Capital outlays, 11 million or 5.78% of total expenditures of 191.2 million. When you take the total revenues of 187.7 minus the total expenditures of 191.2 million, you get a deficiency of revenues over expenditures of $3.4 million. We had other financing source revenue from proceeds from disposal of real personal property is $62,000. So that gives you an overall net change in fund balance of a negative $3.4 million and an ending fund balance of $88.8 million. And again, the major components of those 52 million or 58.72% general fund, 5.4 million or 6% general special revenue fund, 4.4 million in the special activity fund or 4.93%, 7.3 million in permanent improvement fund, that's 8.2%, and 19.6 million or 22.06% in the capital projects fund. On page 3 is a supplemental schedule of expenditures that is required for publication. And for FY25, Raleigh County had net vendor payments of $52.3 million. That's 28.19% of total expenditures. Our overall vendor payments over $250, that's that published total of $69.7 million. Less than $250, 54,000. Total non-published salary expenditures, 90.2 million, 182,000 of published salaries, gives you total salary expenditures for the year of 90.4 million. 43.1 million of benefits gives you a total salary and benefits of 133.4 million. That's 71.81% of the total expenditures of 185.8 million, and that is net of the school activity funds. On pages 4 through 39, that's 69.7 million of published expenditures for your review. I won't go over those. On the financial statements, if you'll go to page 12, this is a statement of net position. It tells what the district owns and owes as of June the 30th. The net position is what is left over after all liabilities are satisfied. At the top of the asset sections, from cash and cash equivalents down to reimbursements receivable, those are the assets that can most easily be converted to cash, and a total of those was $108.4 million for FY25. Then the longer term assets, the capital assets net of depreciation, that's $229.1 million. Right of use assets are $1.3 million. Other post-employment benefit assets, $88,000, gives you total assets of $338.9 million. When you add that to the deferred outflows of resources of $4 million, that gives you total assets and deferred outflows of $342.8 million at the end of the year. The next section, of course, is the liability section, and same logic from salary and payable and related payroll liabilities down to the Sabita liability. Those are the liabilities that can be satisfied the soonest, and that was $18.6 million at the end of the year. Then the items due beyond 1 year totaled $17.3 million, and that's up $11.2 million because of the adoption of GASB 101 for compensated absences. In the past, we only had to record a liability for those absences for vacation. Now we have to pick up all the liability for personal leave that we expect to be converted either into premiums or years of service credit. Total deferred when you add the $35.9 million of liabilities to the deferred inflows of $1.1 million, you get $37.1 million of total liabilities. When you subtract that from the $342.8 million of assets, you get a total net position of $305.6 million. And of that $305 million, it's made up of $229.1 million in capital assets, $12.9 million special projects, $2.5 million excess levy, $26.9 million in capital projects, and an unrestricted net position of $34.2 million. Over on page 1 of the management discussion and analysis, under financial highlights, the board's assets plus deferred outflows exceeded liabilities plus deferred inflows by $305.7 million. That is the net position at the end of the most recent fiscal year. And of this amount, $34.2 million is the unrestricted net position that may be used to meet the board's ongoing obligations. The board's total net position decreased by $4.3 million, and that's due primarily to the result of the implementation of GASB 101 for compensated absences. As of the close of the current fiscal year, the board's governmental funds reported combined ending fund balances of $88.8 million. That's a decrease of $3.4 million in comparison with the prior year. And the largest portion of this decrease was due to decreases in the general fund, which was due to the purchase of technology equipment. At the end of the current fiscal year, unassigned fund balance was approximately $33.1 million, or 22% of total general fund expenditures. Over on page 2, at the bottom of the page, district-wide financial analysis. As noted earlier, net assets may serve as a useful indicator of the government's financial position. In the case of the board, assets plus deferred outflows exceeded liabilities plus deferred inflows by $305.7 million. And over on page 3, the major components of those variances between the FY25 and 24 governmental activities. Current and other assets decreased by approximately $4.2 million due to a decrease in cash and cash equivalents and reimbursements receivables. Capital assets increased by approximately $12 million due to capital asset additions in excess of depreciation. Right of use assets decreased by approximately $859,000, which represents various leased copiers and postage meters due to the implementation of GASB 87, as well as subscription-based information technology agreements due to the implementation of GASB 96. GASB 68 and 71 requires the board to record its proportionate share of the net pension liability, deferred outflows and inflows. The net pension liability increased by approximately $578,000 to $6 million at June 30th. GASB 75 requires the board to record its proportionate share of the net OPEB liability, deferred outflows and inflows. The net OPEB liability is zero. You didn't think you'd ever hear that, right? And the net OPEB asset decreased by approximately $244,000 to $88,000 at June 30th. Deferred outflows increased by approximately $1.1 million, and deferred inflows increased by approximately $466,000 due to GASB 68 and 75. Current and other liabilities decreased by approximately $817,000, due mainly to a decrease in accounts payable related to major construction projects. Long-term liabilities increased by approximately $11.8 million, primarily as a result of the implementation of GASB 101 for compensated absences. The largest portion of the board's net position, 75%, reflects its investment in capital assets. An additional portion of the net position, 14%, represents resources subject to external restrictions on how they may be used, and a majority of the restricted balance is for excess levy and capital projects. The remaining balance of unrestricted net position, 11%, represents cash and other receivables that may be used to meet the board's obligation to students, creditors, and others. At the end of the fiscal year, the board had unrestricted net position of $34.2 million. On page 5, the board's net position decreased by approximately $4.3 million. And the major components of that, operating grants and contributions decreased by $9.8 million due to a decrease in various federal and state grants related to COVID-19. Capital grants and contributions increased by approximately $1.2 million due to an increase in SBA reimbursements for ongoing construction for a new Woodrow Wilson High School water line and a state of West Virginia grant for multimedia at Park Middle School auditorium. Property taxes increased by $3.4 million due to as a result of increased tax collections. Unrestricted state aid increased by approximately $4.9 million as a result of an increase in school support, as well as a recognition of employer proportional share of the pension revenue related to GASB 68 and 75. Unrestricted investment earnings increased by $980,000 as a result of increased interest rates and P-card rebates. And the board's total expenses increased by $27.8 million due primarily to increased instructional costs. Over on page 9, under capital assets, the board's investment in capital assets for governmental activities as of June 30th it amounts to approximately $229.1 million. The total increase in the board's investment in capital assets for the current fiscal year was approximately $12 million or 6%. Major capital events during the year, building and improvements increased by approximately $3.9 million, due primarily to the construction of several construction projects. Furniture and equipment increased by approximately $6.8 million due to the purchase of technology devices at the end of the year for students, teachers, and administrators. Construction in process increased by approximately $2 million, and approximately $9.4 million was put into service. The balance of construction in process was $10.4 million and represents flooring, awnings, roof replacements, track replacements, as well as ongoing renovations at Park Middle School and Woodrow Wilson High School. On page 10, long-term debt. At the end of the current fiscal year, the board had total bonded debt outstanding of $0, capital lease obligations of approximately $0, accrued interest of $0, and the obligation for compensated absences for GASB 101 was approximately $11.8 million. The board's proportionate share of the net pension liability increased by $578,000 to $6 million, and the board's proportionate share of OPEB liability decreased to $0, and the OPEB asset decreased by $244,000 to $88,000 at June 30th. Factors bearing on the board's future, continued declines in student enrollment, resulting in decreases in state aid to the school district that could negatively impact the board's ability to provide the current level of services to students. The board has adopted the community eligibility provision starting in FY25 for the child nutrition program, which depends on increases in federal subsidies to offset individual student billings for food service. A decrease in these subsidies, along with flat or decreased participation, could cause significant declines in future funding of this program, which could significantly increase county contributions. On July the 1st, 2022, the Raleigh County Board of Education was awarded $1 million in major improvement grant funding from the School Building Authority of West Virginia. These funds will be combined with $9 million of capital project funds for total project funding of $10 million for the construction of a new gym and lab renovations for Park Middle School. On April the 10th, 2024, the Raleigh County Board of Education was awarded $2.1 million in needs grant funding from the School Building Authority of West Virginia. These funds were amended to $725,000 during the FY25 school year and are combined with $887,000 of capital projects funding for a total project funding of $1.6 million for waterline replacement at Woodrow Wilson High School and the Academy of Careers and Technology. On July the 1st, 2025, the Raleigh County Board of Education was awarded $500,000 in major improvement grant funding from the School Building Authority of West Virginia. These funds will be combined with $4 million of capital project funds for a total project funding of $4.5 million for HVAC replacement at the Academies of Careers and Technology. The board is elected to purchase all technology devices for students and teachers. While the board has identified funding sources to continue purchasing technology devices every 4 years for students and teachers, a decline in any of the funding mechanisms could require future borrowing to fund the initiative. And over on your last handout, we're almost there. The designated funds request is one that I go over every year with you that gets us to our contingency reserve balances. And at the bottom of the page, gross fund balance $52.1 million at the end of June the 30th. When you reduce off $1.9 million of encumbrances not related to specific projects, $12.4 million of project designated requests, and that's those earmarked funds above, right under bus replacement. That includes all of the levy earmarked funds as well as any step 7 bus replacement or other funds that are earmarked at the end of the school year. And that was $12.4 million. When you reduce off the budget needs of $4.5 million and prepaid items of $53,000, you get a designated funding request of $33.1 million for the year. How will we utilize that $33.1 million? If you look at the top of the page under budget, right under budget needs, interfund transfer to the permanent improvement fund. This would be unrestricted funding for the permanent improvement fund, $2,159,783. Interfund transfer to the permanent improvement project for playground upgrades, $300,000. Interfund transfer of the permanent improvement for Daniels Elementary pre-K. This would be the second phase of the project at Daniels, $325,000. Interfund transfer to permanent improvement for turf replacement, $250,000. Interfund transfer to permanent improvement for Independence High School track replacement, $675,000. Interfund transfer to the permanent improvement fund for Shady Spring High School track replacement, $675,000. Interfund transfer to the permanent improvement fund for Shady Spring High School tennis court refurbishment, $100,000. Interfund transfer to the capital projects fund for Park Middle demo and parking. That's increased costs related to the auditorium and the concession stand and some other things that added to the project, $750,000. Interfund transfer to the capital projects fund for Woodrow Wilson High School renovations, $157,432. That completes our match that we will go to the SBA with this year. Interfund transfer to the capital project fund for Woodrow Wilson E-wing renovations, $1 million. And interfund transfer to the capital projects fund for the funding required for the ACT HVAC replacement, $4 million. Board emergency fund replacement replenishment, $84,142. And the annual bus replacement, $150,000 that we give for transportation. That leaves us with contingency reserves of $22.5 million, $22,550,000. And how does that rate? Reserve levels are typically defined in terms of their total as a percentage of either operating revenues or expenditures. Standard & Poor's views available fund balance when assigning bond ratings as low 0%, adequate 1 to 4%, good 4 to 8%, strong 8 to 15%, and very strong greater than 15%. The Raleigh County School contingency reserves as a percentage of FY25 general fund expenditures is 15.03% or very strong. And then on page 3 through 43, that is your carryover supplement from FY25 to FY26, and that totals $84.6 million. I'm sure we have lots of questions.
If you don't mind, you start back on page 1.
You want me to start over? I can do it again.
No.
Yes. Well, so
He cut and paste. Don't
a
worry.
lot of it, yes. There is a lot of typing, and it's a process. I'll say that, an arduous process.
Well, the best part is the last thing you said there. Our position is very strong,
Yes.
and that has remained that way for several years, and that's a good thing that we're able to accomplish things and still keep our position strong. Because I mean, it's one thing to do a lot of good things, but if you put yourself in a hole financially, you're not accomplishing anything. So
One of the most important things for districts is to get their contingency reserves where they need to be, because it allows them to do so many other things once they get their finances straightened out. That gives you the ability to then do the projects and things you need to do. So
I don't think you'll find another district our size that's accomplished that has a zero bond debt.
yes,
Okay, that's an important thing. I mean, a lot of districts have done something. They have a humongous bond debt. We don't. We don't
Well,
have a
I
rental
think-
debt. We used to rent stuff. We don't even rental debt. Those are major liabilities. Are just sitting there, guys sneaking, eating away at your assets. We were able to do all these things without those, and have to go to taxpayers for a bond. So I think that's a great accomplishment.
that's a concerted effort, I think, that we all do to try to keep that off of our taxpayers and citizens as much as we can. So all right, thank you.
Okay, we have no unfinished business. Policies and procedures. The following have been completed the 30-day comment period. Approve revision of policy B.5.1 management.
Mr. Ford and board members, I would let you know that we received no comments on any of the 3 policies that are before you this evening. My recommendation is they all be approved as presented.
If I don't hear objection, I would like to just make a motion that we approve policy B.51, B.52, and B.53 all together since they had no comments.
Motion's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consent items. Any of these need to be removed, or can we vote on those together? A, B, C, D, and E. Motion's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Motion carries. New business. Consider approval of the video streaming agreement with WJLS and Raleigh County Schools for 25-26 school year. Is that pretty much standard, just like the other one?
It is somewhat different, but Mr. Dillon's prepared to speak to it if you'd
Okay.
like.
Good evening. Good evening, and thank you. So the video streaming agreement in front of you tonight for consideration is presented to Raleigh County Schools, but it's on behalf of a specific school, and that specific school is Woodrow Wilson. If you remember earlier this school year, we entered into an agreement with Video Productions for the 4 high schools. This is specific to Woodrow Wilson based upon WGLS's want to stream their games as well. So this one's a little bit different. It's not just a lump sum, if you will. It is based upon the net gross sales of the advertisements that are sold by WGLS that are ran during the streaming of the game. If you remember, the Video Productions sum was $4,000 for 4 schools. This at the end of August, it's been expressed to me that WGLS had already sold 6 ads at $1,250 an ad. So if you do the math, it comes out to $7,000 and some dollars. If you take 15% of that, it's around $940. So that was at the end of August. WGLS has expressed to Woodrow Wilson that they can hope to double that, sell 12 ads. So Woodrow could stand to gain as much as $1,500, $1,800 from this agreement. Do notice that the agreement is just for fall sports. I did draft the agreement, but I want to make it very clear that Video Productions was for the whole year. This with WGLS would be for the fall sports season with the opportunity to renew in the winter sports season.
Any questions?
Only thing, I thank Mr. Dillon and Dr. Starcher for working on this. I had some questions, and they addressed those, and I appreciate that. You know, it's a new day. We've never had this kind of contracts or industry. We've had to work and I hope that I talked to Mr. Dillon there, and I would think that maybe next year we need to probably sit down before the season starts and say here's what's out there, and with these media companies, because they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. They're making substantial resources out of this. That's the reason they do it. Okay, and I'm not saying we're not getting compensated here on this, but we probably need to go into it. We're in the 5th game already at Woodrow, and we're just not signing the contract. So we need to get everything on, start this thing in August or whatever, maybe reach out to them. They don't reach out and say, hey, if you're interested, we need to get in with you guys and do it. And I think it's important that we as the board do negotiation, not just the high schools, and to do it, because he is right that when we went with the first production company, they basically took all schools, all sports for that fee. This company has decided to just go Woodrow Wilson and just football. I've got a strong feeling they may come back and want other sports later, but if they do, they're going to have to negotiate another thing with us. And so we maybe need to explain that better maybe next year and say, hey, we'll enter into you a contract for the whole year you can have carte blanche. I like the one like we did with the first video production because then they have everything. So have an individual. They could, any sport they want for a certain fee. But this contract, I think, is a good contract. I just think that as things change, maybe we need to change too and become a little more proactive up front on it. So I have no other questions, and I would move to approve the contract as was submitted to us.
Just to add
All
something
those
to
in favor
that.
say aye.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Snuffer. Mr. Ford. So in the past, WGLS, they have not streamed the games at Woodrow Wilson. They have just radio announced the games, broadcast. So when we received the video productions contract, we immediately reached out to the 4 high schools and said, hey, please make us aware of anyone else who's streaming. So this was new to WGLS this year. They wanted to get on the on board, I guess, if you will. It was their idea to do the 15. That's what they brought to me was the 15% of the advertisements. I do agree. It's a lot cleaner if we do a lump sum of some sort. They brought this idea to me in an effort to speed up the process because where we were at in the sports season, I didn't want to wait on them to draft a contract. So I try to draft it as quick as possible to get it back in our hands to get it in front of you.
And we're one of the few counties, and we'll say this, well, I don't know, we're a few counties. I know Kanawha County and some other counties, bigger counties, that have media there. They charge game right fees for radio everything, okay? So much per game. If you want to do a broadcast of a football game or a soccer game or a basketball game, it's $100 and some a game, but they still charge it, okay? So that would be something as we look at this next summer, say, okay, we're going to cover this, not media stream, we're going to cover all media companies, how you do it, and this will be our charges for game rights.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those
we
in
have
favor say
a
aye.
motion and second right here. Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Consider approval of the curriculum associates instructional leadership coaching for Coal City Elementary, Hollywood, Stratton, and the leadership impact coaching for Beckley Stratton Middle School.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me again. So tonight, based on the data that we were talking about and the data I presented with West Virginia Summative Assessments, our curriculum team here at the office, we look at county data overall and then individual school data. And we have a fund, teacher leader induction funding, that allows us to focus on best practices for teachers needing support and extra help in schools. And so I'm proposing tonight and asking for approval for an intense coaching model for Stratton Elementary, Hollywood Elementary, and Coal City Elementary, focused primarily on math. This is a 15-day, 3-week cycle. So this coach would come in, work with non-teachers and leadership for 1 week in the fall, in the middle of the year, and then again at the end. And this is to classroom walkthroughs, professional development, and these would be teachers that want that support and need that, and have asked for that in their classrooms. And they work with this school, the same coach all year. And those would be the 3 elementary schools. The leader impact coaching, it is designed to work with the leadership to form action plans, manage long-term systematic change by looking at data, compiling data, looking at personalized instruction, and how to offer that to the students at their school. So that would be the middle school model. You have a packet there if you have any questions about that, and it shows what through the flow chart, what that model would look like for the coaching and for the leadership impact. So the coaching would start with the first day. They do a debriefing and they do learning walks. They monitor instruction, identify growth opportunities, and then they plan with the leader. They offer PD on all of those things. They keep going through those walkthroughs, helping that teacher implement best practices, and then they debrief, and that's for the 3 different weeks. And then for the leadership impact, they work with that leader to understand data, create, monitor, and create a plan, engage in learning walks, work on personalized instruction for students, and strengthen leadership practices. So we would like to propose approval for that funding.
Question. Why those schools? I
So-
mean, I understand Stratton, I understand Beckley Stratton. I can somewhat understand Coal City. Why Hollywood?
Because if you'll
I mean,
read,
if you look at the data, that's surely not a school that's in desperate need. So why would you choose them?
so when we looked at that, their math dropped 12%. That was the largest drop in math. And so we wanted to work with those teachers. They had a lot of staffing change, and we see that they're not really understanding how to implement the new math program. And we wanted to give them support before it got even worse. They are, but that
was one that I brought up. They had the largest drop in the county.
but they dropped from 7th to 44th. And we just don't want it. We just took a look at that and don't want it to get worse. And we felt if we supported that leadership, what we should see on walkthroughs in math classrooms, because we had the same thing with ELA at that school and science.
They're low.
And Hollywood also is not a title school. And so we can't offer our coaching there as well.
I would have chosen those schools, but
The middle
What you
school-
choose to do.
Why is the middle school so much is cheaper? Is it not getting the same thing, or what's?
That's a leadership focus. So that would be just with the leaders at that school, the administration.
Just for administration there, okay. I do the teachers, okay.
Any questions? Hearing no questions, do I have a motion?
I'm so moved.
Is there a second? Motion's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Consider approval of the articulation agreement with Bluefield State Engineering. Anybody speaking to that?
I can. I don't think Mr. Pack's not here. So Mr. Pack, ACT has worked with Bluefield State, particularly the Beckley campus and the Bluefield campus to an extent. But anyway, this would be an articulation agreement for our Project Lead the Way programs, which are kind of like pre-engineering programs, both at Shady Spring High School and ACT. This would be an articulation agreement with Bluefield State University's engineering program. So Mr. Pack has recommended it, and I see nothing, any concern. So I'd recommend it be approved as presented.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Consider approval of the annual financial statement for 24-25.
Need a repeat?
I move we approve the financial statements, annual statement that was presented to us tonight.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Consider approval of the fiscal year 25-26 carryover.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Consider approval of the superintendent's recommendation for personnel 25-26 year.
We have a few revisions. Ms. Simonko's coming forward.
Good evening, everyone. I printed the first 10 pages of the recommendations for you. The other 21 pages were just the parent volunteers, and there were no changes with those. On page 1, you'll see the addition of the to-be-announced name under secondary principal, Aaron Price from assistant principal, Ridgeview Elementary, to assistant principal, Independence Middle School, effective 9/29/25. Page 3, under extracurricular elementary, at the top, resignation, Kevin Harris. The effective date has changed from 9/30 to 10/22/25. And on page 4, at the top, federal programs, Kevin Harris retirement. The effective date has also changed from 9/30 to 10/22/25. And then near the very bottom of page 6, there is a name correction, not a name change, but a misspelling of a name. Serena Hannah has been corrected. And those are all the changes for tonight.
Your recommendation?
My recommendation is as presented with the corrections noted by Ms. Smonko.
Okay, I've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Do I have a motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We do thank you for coming. That's all we have on our agenda. This meeting is adjourned.